Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for coming on the show, Women's Mind Today with Ola Olive. Thank you so very much. And I know that you're going to have a great time today. And so we are here on a very special occasion. And today's episode is titled Beauty for Ashes. But before I go on to introduce our guest, I'll just go on with any views or opinions or thoughts that will be shared here today. I want to believe that it remains the opinion of the speakers, even though they are speaking from their own personal experience and also expertise. But at the end of the day, you still have the responsibility to make your own verifications, as well as take on board what you believe you should take on board and do your own necessary checks. But if you need extra support in whatsoever way, you can still email us and we are be able to assist in whatsoever way, either by way of advice or referral to the necessary and relevant bodies that can further assist you. So again, welcome to the Women's Mind Today, which is a monthly talk show that addresses everyday life issues that affect the mental and emotional well-being of women and their families with holistic solutions. And this is hosted under the umbrella of Women in Thanksgiving, which is a faith group organization that works with women to promote their spiritual and personal development. Again, my name is Reverend Ojolakwe Stephen, or mostly known as Ola Olive. So thank you. And let's get started with the show today. I have a very wonderful lady who is going to be our first speaker today. And then I have also the second speaker, and then we're going to have the panel discussion as we move on in the show. So I'm going to first of all introduce Ebony Ali. And I have it here. Ebony Ali is an author, speaker, workshop facilitator from London. In 2018, she self-published her first book, Beauty for Ashes, An Exchange for Hope, where she shares her journey of overcoming various mental health challenges. She's recently self-published her second book, his masterpiece, that's the title, Understanding Your True Worth as a Woman. That's interesting. And in 2020, and this was published in 2020, I believe, where she explores the topics of self-worth and faith. Ebony is dedicated to inspiring, empowering, and encouraging people, and she believes it is her duty to share her experiences with others in order to help them along their journey. She does this through her coaching and mentoring programs and is currently undertaking a master's in social work. Wow. Welcome, Ebony. Welcome. Nice to have you. Yes, nice to have you. And then I have my second guest today. Let me just share that as well. And her name is Ronke Adeyemi. My dear sister, yes, second time on the show today. On the show, not today, but second time on the show. Thank you so much for coming. So Ronke Adeyemi is a counselor and psychotherapist, a registered member of the British Association of Counseling and Psychotherapy, the MBCAP. Her practice is in line with the association's ethical framework. She's also an experienced registered childcare practitioner with Ofsted, a trustee of Tama Family Support Unit, which is a charity organization supporting victims of domestic abuse, and had worked as a frontline staff working with adult with learning disability and mental health issues within health and social care services. Ronke holds a deep knowledge of the unconscious formation through cultural context, possible family conflict with the reality of social world, thereby resulting to distress. Her passion is to provide support to individuals by empathetically listening to their story, works collaboratively with clients to look at links from their past to make sense of the present. She's got a lot of accolades to her name. And her passion, again, is about enabling clients to gain confidence to live a happy and fulfilling life. Wow, what a guest that we have today. Fantastic. If you can give them a round of applause or show some love, please do so. We're in for a great time today. So without wasting much time again, I'm just going to bring on Ebony as you share your story with us. We really want to hear your story, your journey from a state of mental ill health to recovery, and how you came about writing your first book, Beauty for Ashes. Over to you, Ebony. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be here today. So my story, I would say that my journey started when it comes to mental health. So a few of my family members have suffered with mental health. So I grew up witnessing like someone very close to me have a mental health breakdown. So I kind of grew up in an environment where mental health was definitely an issue. As a young child, I didn't really understand what mental health was, but I did notice that as I was growing up, and especially my teenagers, I was have like moments of like really bad depression, and I didn't really understand. But I did go through quite a bit of trauma as a child, because my mum actually had mental health problems and she was violent. So I went through quite a lot of trauma regarding that, and I needed, and yeah, and that really did affect me. But it wasn't until I got to about college. When I was in college, I was studying, doing my A levels. By this time, I'd become a Christian. I was born again, but I had a lot of anxiety, um, and that anxiety led to me started to have panic attacks. So I used to just get really, really scared and anxious that I wouldn't pass my exams. It was really like kind of out of the blue, I guess, but it was all about my mindset at the time and overthinking and just a lot of worry and fear, which I kind of feel like was linked to what happened to me in my childhood. So that kind of kept on going on until I went to university. But I kind of kept on pushing through with my education. But at the time I was in university, I feel like there was just a lot of things going on within like my social group, and just like dealing with like heartbreak and then dealing with exam stress, which actually just led to a full-on mental breakdown. When that happened now, I was actually sectioned under the Mental Health Act and I was put in hospital. I did go in voluntarily at first, but eventually they sectioned me. I went in voluntarily because I just was hallucinating. I was having a lot of mania. I couldn't really sleep, anxiety, all of that. Everything was just very, there was so much going on at the time. So then I actually was sectioned and I was in the hospital for about 3 months. So it was obviously the most difficult time of my life, feeling quite hopeless, feeling quite down. Just really, really not in a good space. And I was there for about 3 months. They gave me medication. They said what happened to me was called a psychotic episode. But they never kind of gave me any kind of like label as saying like, okay, you have a mental illness or anything like that. They just said I had an episode, and I was like, okay, and I was on medication. So I was on this medication for like about I think not up to a year, but I took it regularly, but not up to a year because I actually decided to take myself off it. And that was after like my auntie had spoken to me and she was like, these medications, they can affect your brain. And I just realized how much it was like, I felt like it was stealing from me in terms of my time and in terms of like my energy, because I used to take the medication. It used to make me sleep throughout the night, like, you know, I'd say like 12 hours I could sleep straight. And yeah, I just didn't really like the effects that it was having on my body, you know, put on weight. There was just so many side effects, and I wasn't happy. And I just thought, I'm just going to take control of my life. I'm just going to have faith that I'm okay now. And that was that. I just took myself off it. And yeah, I haven't been on medication. That was in 2014. So in 2022, and I've never taken any kind of medication for my mental health. So that was that journey. And then as I went back to university, I graduated in international relations and journalism. I did that for a bit, started working as a tutor part-time. And it was around that time that I think that at that time, you know, I was in church, and like people had given me certain words, and they were saying, you know, it's time to tell the world your story. So I started actually speaking around maybe 2017. I had a mentor, and she invited me to her ministry to speak and tell my story. I did so, and God was also like telling me about my book, or telling my story. And then I knew, like, for me as a child, I'd always wanted to write a book. So I knew that that would be the best way for me to like even just process what I've gone through, and, you know, share it with other people, because I felt like it could help people as well. So then that's when I published my first book in 2018. So during that time, whilst I was working on my book, I actually joined a pageant. It was called Miss Ebony Ambassador. So it meant Miss Ebony, Elegant, Bold, Original, Noble Youth. And that was in 2017, actually. So I joined that pageant, and I actually won the pageant. So then during that time, I was like doing a lot of pageant stuff. I was speaking, I was, you know, going to different events. I was like campaigning, and, you know, I got to go to Nigeria, like go to orphanages, schools, and just talk and, like, you know, sharing my story as much as I could. You know, I remember, like, even at the pageant before I won, you know, that was the first time I think I openly said, yeah, this is what's happened to me, and look at where I am now. So that was part of my journey, from 2017 to 2018. And yeah, till now, with publishing books and just going back to education again, doing my master's. Yeah, it's been a very interesting, long journey, but yeah, here we are today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, you know, powerful story and your journey with us. Really, really, it takes courage to do that, isn't it? And before I move on to Ronke Adeyemi, I want to ask, how important is it for you, or how impactful is telling your story for you personally? How impactful has that been?
It's definitely impactful and empowering for me, as a person. You know, I remember first telling my story, there was this feeling of feeling very vulnerable, and, you know, but it was definitely important for me to like really own what I've been through. And just, you know, how it helps other people. I think that is always something that really stands out to me, and the amount of people that can relate to some of the things that I've been through, even though they come from a different walk of life. So that's always sort of been a blessing, to be able to share with people and have them connect and also open up as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you talked about the fact that this all really started as a result of you know, the trauma that you went through when you were young, seeing your mother and your mom going through you know, those challenges. And I'm going to bring on Ronke Adeyemi to really shed more light from a psychotherapy point of view, hearing the story. And what I want you to also start off with is to tell us, talk about the prevalent mental health issues that affect children and young people. And you can pick up from even some of the things that she's mentioned, for instance, like trauma, a young person or a child experiencing, you know, a parent or even domestic violence. How can that impact their mental well-being and all of that? Please, over to you, Ronke.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And wow, Ebony, good afternoon. And thank you for inviting me. The question, as you know, talking therapy or in therapeutic or counseling setting, we don't judge, and we don't label. And the issue of mental health, we could have mental health issue at any point in time in our life. Either our parents experienced it or not. What I'm hearing from Ebony sounds like something that is innate. Maybe there's something, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I couldn't say much about what that means or the link. But what I can tell is there's some childhood adverse life experience that could trigger mental health at any stage of life. At the time she experienced her own, or her mother experienced her own, there must be something that triggers it. Our research did says that 1 in 3 who have mental health issue in their life, within the life, a lifespan. So that is quite high and it's quite massive. So if things changes, if we go through stress, you mentioned domestic abuse, children that were raised in a conflict home, either from father and mother that are living together, seen as a married couple, but continually experiencing violence at home, they are at that high spectrum of having mental health at the adult stage or even growing up, because that will have affected who they are. Loss of self, which something I'm going to talk about later, and especially within the young people. So I will talk about the psychosocial stage of life for young people and why they're receptive of most of the things that happens to them in life, because that is a period in their life where they start discovering who they are. So if our childhood if we're not secured or securely raised, or if we're raised by parents that are anxious, or they themselves have experienced certain life issue, and in the aspect of raising us, then we will pick whatever that is going on around us as a child. Because if you carry a baby, you will see the baby will be looking at the facial expression of the parents. And if they're smiling, you're telling the baby that the world is a beautiful place to live. If they always see you with hard look, or you scream, or then you're telling them that, oh, well, life is very challenging. So that determines where that child will fall, either as a secure child or non-secure child, insecure child, or an ambivalent child in terms of attachment. So they won't know where to fall into, either when they see your facial expression to be happy. Some will smile and at the same time they will cry. But for baby, they're confused. So all those things affect us as we're growing up. Then for young people, it's quite confusing, because that is a period between age 12 and 18, or depending, is a period they start discovering who are they. Then if you put them in too much of anything that can bring pressure to them, then obviously they will break down, just as any other human being. But their resistance to breaking down will be high than a child that is well secured as a child. So I think, adverse childhood life experience contributes to the way we function when we get older, or especially when we becoming a young adult. That is where there is confusion. That is where we wondering at identity versus confusion. That is what the Erikson says. That is a period we will be looking for ourselves. That is the period to discover who I am, my sexuality. So why is other people functioning well and I'm not? That is the period we see ourselves. So it is a delicate period, and I hope we're still coming back to revisit this. So there's something around innate. Innate means something that you inherit from your parents, biologically inherit. It's not the mental health. Issues happens in life, but the way we were raised, the neurological development of our parents, we tend to pick out of it. We tend to pick biologically from it. And again, research even says our egg is formed when our grandmother is carrying the pregnancy of our mother. So there could be something intergenerational, whatever, from that lineage. But however, is the issue of life that triggers mental health for anyone in life.
Thank you so very much for that explicit sharing there. Thank you. I want to also ask, to move on from there, in your own practice and experience over the years, what would you say are the very, very common mental health problems that, I'm saying children and young people, but we'll put them all together. Would you say that you have come across that are common?
Anxiety and depression.
Mm.
And there's something that attached to it. So if you're just telling me you have anxiety or you've got depression, then we will explore it. So anxiety doesn't mean, oh, no, it's the symptoms that you're talking about, but there are loads and loads of things underneath that brings that anxiety. So we start from the beginning. And one thing that I didn't mention is I am an integrative psychotherapist, counselors and psychotherapists. I work with individual integratively, which means I use different approaches, start from the beginning through this psychodynamic, understand your development, understand what is in your family, when does this start from, how were you raised, who were in your environment, as in when you were born, your father, your mother, then what are the things? So after checking, then we take it up to next level. Okay, why is this? Why now? Then how can it be better? So yeah. Then depression could be due to the fact that maybe one parent is not at home, the one is at home is not always stable. Then even if it's stable, lack of so many things, bereavement is part of it. Divorce, separation, a child that lives with father and mother, and suddenly no explanation. Then loss of income, jobs, so many things could cause depression.
Thank you. So anxiety and depression, would you say that's for both male and female?
Yes, yes. We all experience, there's no difference between human being. Human being experience the same psychological issue to life. However, is what is being reported that people will recall. I mean, we all know that women will talk. In case of Ebony, she didn't hide. She came out for support, and here is she today, encouraging others to learn from her story and speak out. So, but men, they will withdraw, because that is the way we raised men. That is what society placed on the men, not to talk. They have to be strong. They have to be, macho, ego. So all those things kind of limits men from reporting until when the thing is actually bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we all experience life issues in a different way, in a different form.
Okay, thank you. For our attendees, please, you can have your questions, you can post it on the chat, and there will be a time that I will also give at least 2 people to contribute or to ask questions when the time comes. So I'm going to come back to you, Ebony. And what I want to ask is, I just want you, because you are a young woman as well, I would say, but not so young as in being a teenager. But I just want to ask you, this started from when you were a teenager, isn't it? Or was it when you were?
I would say the anxiety began as a teenager. I would say that the depression when I was like a child.
When you were like a child. Wow. And okay,
Yeah, probably
yeah,
about maybe 10.
10. And that was
Yeah, 10.
not diagnosed in any way.
No, to be honest, I didn't really, it wasn't for extended periods of time. It was just when there were like things going on, like seasons of transition, things were changing. So there were things that were affecting me. That yeah, so it wasn't for extended periods of time.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to come to you. I want to go back to when you were a child. What were the signs that or symptoms that you were exhibiting at that time as a
I
child?
think for me, it was obviously for me, I was experiencing very low moods, but it caused me to withdraw myself. Yeah, so withdrawal and just not wanting to be around other people. Yeah, I think that was the main thing. That's when I realized that this was a sign of depression. Just wanting to be alone by myself, with my thoughts, thinking like negative thoughts and things like that.
Thank you. And this went on, as you grew older and yeah,
Yeah,
into your
I would,
teenage years.
yeah, I'd
Yes.
say,
Yeah.
like I said, it wasn't extended periods, but yeah, I'd say that it did kind of, yeah, it did increase as the years went on.
Thank you very much. Thank you, because I have even some comments here just for you. We really celebrate you because you are really saving lives. With you sharing your story, you are really saving life. I have someone here that says, amazing journey, very brave young woman. Very brave young woman, because you just sharing all of this is actually helping people to put things in perspective and allowing them to look inwards. Maybe there's a family member, maybe there's a child that they have seen exhibit similar things as a parent, or even as a sibling, or even, maybe somebody in the neighborhood, and you never kind of recognize it as anything. But sharing your story has actually opened people's eyes to say, don't ignore that. It could be something that we should actually even look into. And I want to come to Staronke. What then would you say are the signs and symptoms that, parents or young people should look out for when talking about, depression, anxiety, and all of these various other mental health problems? Because what she mentioned about the fact that you're withdrawn, you want to be alone by yourself, you don't want people around you, you easily revolt and you lash out and things like that. People will not account it or see it as maybe it's a mental health issue. It might just be, it's my personality, that's how I am, or something like that. Please shed more light as a psychotherapist. Thank you.
Yeah, when your child, as Ebony said, from age 10, as she could remember, yes, in most cases, children, you think your children are just being quiet. You don't know what they are thinking. I guess what we lack in our community is able to send our children for therapy. And that is common within the Black ethnic minority. It's not something that we are used to. It's not something that we know, because our culture operates in secrecy, and the fear of being exposed, and the shame of being seen as a bad parent. Even when me myself, as a parent is going through my own. So we don't introduce our children to where they will be able to explore what is going on for them and to see things in different perspective. So we leave it until, oh yeah, she's very quiet. She stays at home. And oh, have you eaten? Oh, no, I'm okay. One word. Because the child doesn't even bother you. Oh yeah, let her be. Then when they're going to school, you don't even know if they're being bullied, but because we don't give them that avenue to talk to us, not our fault as a parent, but because we ourselves, we're dealing with so much things. So to even embrace another problem is too much. So when your children doesn't like much of social activity, check. When the child chooses not to eat or stays in the room, these days now social media has taken over, check. Speak to them, talk to them, don't scream, don't shout, don't frighten the child, then don't even judge before they speak. Don't say it's their personality. Some children, I don't think there are anybody that has been born an introvert or extrovert. It's life that shapes us and makes us the way we are. If the child talks too much, then sit with the child. Maybe the child is communicating something. If the child is becoming or throwing tantrum, check, she's communicating. He or she may be communicating through that medium. Children that have experienced sexual abuse, they're not going to come to you and say, Mom, this is what I faced, or this is what is happening, except you build relationship. And that child will sit with that feelings and is feeling of being disgusted, feeling of being, the abuser will transfer, mostly, all the time, transfer that guilt to the little child. As if you do this, yeah, it's your fault. You are the shame. The shame that meant to belong to the abuser will be transferred to the child, and he or she will be carrying the shame. Then if you're a Christian, which I am part of, please don't use too much of Bible. Yes, God will do his own thing, but God chose us as a parent, as a mother, and gave us a life to nurture because God knows we could raise that child properly. And again, because we ourselves doesn't talk, we're carrying too much emotional burden. So is when you see your child doesn't function the way they used to, or you realize his or academic achievement is declining, or you realize or his behavior at school is, they're calling you every time, this is what is happening. Or if a child that is not a baby is still wet in bed, that is a sign of trauma. He or she has experienced or witnessed trauma of one kind. So don't say, oh, in my family, we wet bed until we're 20-something. Then there's problem in that family. Check. You don't know what your child is saying that he or she chooses not to let you know. So you will know the physiological changes, and you will know emotional changes. They may be feeling sick, more nauseous, sickness that will make them to throw up, not food poisoning, but you will know. Then hiccup, when you talk to them, there's something that is making them feeling shook. Oh, don't just go and say, take your Gaviscon. Yes, they can take Gaviscon, but sit with them. Sit with them. When anyone comes in and you see the facial expression of your child, something is wrong. Check with the child. But basically, we just need to be friends with our children. We shouldn't be a pharaoh that they couldn't talk to. Then whatever we have learned from our parents that doesn't work for us, we shouldn't give it the same tools to our children. There are certain things we need to unlearn, especially around domestic abuse. So domestic abuse, when children witness domestic abuse, there's no way that thing will not have effect on your children when they're growing up. Even in their own interpersonal relationship, it will destroy it, basically.
Thank you so much. You've said a lot. You've said a lot. And basically, the bottom line is that parents should just learn to communicate with their children. If you see something that is out of ordinary, just learn to talk to your children. It's not about being in their space, but learning to talk. Now, I want to talk about if these symptoms, you see the symptoms and they are not addressed as a child, how can that affect that individual as they grow older, even into adulthood?
It's Ebony can be my witness in this. I will pass it down to you, Ebony, from your own personal experience to share what you feel, how it affects you all this year, and where you feel the point where you think you need support. Because it will affect the mental functioning, the thought process.
Okay, Ebony, do you want to, what was that? Okay, Ebony, do you want to answer that? Then I'll come back to Staronke to answer that.
Yeah, so definitely, for me, the way it affected me was, emotionally, emotionally, it really affected me in terms of like having those spouts of depression. Yes, overthinking, anxiety, questioning everything. I was very much someone that used to overthink every little thing, and I don't think that's normal, especially now where I'm in a better place and I'm in a place of peace. I understand that that way of thinking wasn't a normal thought pattern, but where there was a lot of trauma and a lot of fear, I always had to be on guard and question everything, as a child. So as an adult and as a teenager, I was still doing that. I'm still overthinking. I'm still very, very cautious, more cautious than other people. And that ultimately just living in fear. So loads of those things can affect you as an anything that you see, anything you witness, reenacting things that you've seen your parents do, reenacting, having, violence, acting out. I think for me as well, like a lot of, like in your interpersonal relationships, like just feeling rejection a lot, dealing with a lot of rejection from peers, but also rejecting other people as well because of my own internal problems. So there are so many ways that your childhood trauma can impact you. So those are my experiences of it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ebony. Let me just add to that. You've mentioned about the emotional and psychological problems issues that this can contribute to. Let me break it down more. Being able to function properly will be difficult. Then you will be, I hear you talking about preoccupied with different thoughts, ruminating thoughts always. Somebody that greets you that doesn't smile, what does that mean? It will mean something to you. Somebody that greets you too much will mean something. And you will constantly try to please people for them to be able to embrace you, because you will be looking for the affection or love that you didn't get from home. As I said, please don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning anybody's background. I have my own. We don't just become counselor or psychotherapists because our background is superb. No, I suffered from bereavement, childhood bereavement, and I knew what does to me. If that informed the kind of relationship I pick, both within my female friends, even the kind of man I chose in marriage, and the kind of service I give in marriage, and this kind of who I am, basically, that informed the kind of person I am. And you will realize at this stage, your relationship will be suffering, because people that they're just themselves, but because they're themselves, they will be triggering something within us, which is not the problem. It's our own issue. It's our own problem. It's either you're too hard on yourself, which means you'll be too hard on you'll be too critical on the people around you, then, or you're too extrovert. Before anybody says anything, you're out there too much, you're loud, you too much makeup, even the makeup that we put on. People will mask their face, you won't recognize them anymore. There is something under that. There is something low self-worth. That's where the self-esteem comes in. Then our decision making as you're growing up. And if you're preoccupied with all those things, how could you concentrate on your studies? Then you will notice all these physiological changes. Either you're eating too much, or you're not eating too well, or you realize your body dysmorphia could come in because you just don't know what to hold on. Then it will affect your sleeping. Insomnia, either you sleep too much or you don't sleep too much, either you eat too much or you don't eat too much. It affects basically everything around us, and there won't be peace if there's no amount of prayer that you do. When God is giving you that peace, you will accept that you push it because we'll be looking for validation. So it affects us till even it's so worst during the midlife, in the 50s, when we're 50s, when late 40s, 50s, or even early 40s. Those are the perimenopausal period. It does affect a lot.
Thank you so very much. I want to talk about now seeking professional help. At what stage, Ebony, did you come to realize that, you know what, I've got to seek professional help here? Because at one time you said that you went yourself, you were the one that actually sought the help yourself. At what age was that? And also, why did you come to make that decision?
Yeah. So I think I first had the first counseling session when I was still in my teens. So when I was in college, but it was just a one-off. And then I noticed that like during the summer break, I would get very low. So I'd speak to people in my church, and they recommended they're seeing a counselor, but I didn't really find it very helpful at that time. So it was just a short time. But when I had my full on, it was probably something I should have had like more consistently. But when I had my full on mental breakdown, when I was 19, that's when in the summer holidays that, I was hallucinating. I was very paranoid. I thought people were trying to attack me. I thought that the TV was sending me messages. It got to that stage where I said, okay, speaking to my cousin, people had been saying to me, do you want to go to hospital? I was like, no, don't want that, nothing to do with that. But I think at that point, I just said, let me just go, and it's time to go inside. No matter how much I'm afraid of this is something I have to face, because I wasn't okay. So that was what led me to seek professional help. And yeah, like I said, I was sectioned, and then I went into hospital after that. Medicated and everything.
And since then, you have been able to move on with your life. Did your bachelor's, now you're doing your master's, you've written book, and you're on this platform being a wonderful inspiration to us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now I want to come back to Ronke. Now we know you are from the faith background, whichever one, whether Muslim, Christian, whatever. People from the faith background, there is a lot of challenge in that area of wanting to seek professional help, because we say, oh, I'm praying about it, I'll study my Bible. And I know there's a place for that. So at what stage do you think, in your own being an expert, at what stage do you think that professional help is now needed? When I mean professional help, seeking a counselor, a psychotherapist. And I'm going to come back again to also defining the difference between a psychotherapist, a counselor, who do you see at what time? But we leave that till the next question. But at what stage do you think that now it's time to seek professional help?
Yeah, thank you. I said earlier on that because, especially, I'm sure all the people on this platform will be Black. I mean, as they called, either Afro-Caribbean or well, there's this thing about
Most, but not all.
yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, those that that doesn't belong to those. I mean, those groups, they will know were underrepresented within the counseling and psychotherapy therapeutic profession, and because why this is not what we were raised with. We don't discuss what happens at home with a stranger. Then even your mom's friend or your dad's cousin, if you say whatever that goes inside between within your family to anybody else, there's this issue of shame. So as a result, they will tell you, you know what, every family have their own thing. Let everything we talk within this family remain with this family, even when we're dying. So our culture operates in secrecy. Once you see that there is changes in your children, I see up to 6 years old child. I am seeing one at the moment, 6 years old. And if the earlier, the better. If you take your child for counseling, at the time you want, maybe at age 10, Ebony, if you had gone to therapy before waiting till when you are in secondary school, you will have you will have been able to see things differently because it will be coming from a different person that is not within the family, within your family. And it's like when they're saying to us, and the medical doctors are saying, if you check your breast, if you see a lump, quickly see your GP, quickly come for medical treatment. Once a lump is taken out, then you have 80% chances of getting cancer. So does that mean that the lump will not cause cancer if you wait till later stage? It will. Same thing as when you see the sign, when you begin to see that your children are not happy, when you begin to see the changes in them, they're withdrawing, they become anxious, they couldn't sleep very well, and they get angry at a very small little things. Please, that is the time for them to go for counseling. What I see changing, that change of recent, is our young people are coming into counseling more than their parents. But if they had come earlier, it won't get to the point that you'll be so preoccupied to the point that what you seen in the fantasy, or perhaps the fantasy world, or whatever your thinking is bringing, will not become reality after a time, thereby causing psychosis. You will have had those things sorted when they're young. At the age of, as I mentioned before, from age of 12 to 18, that is when human beings start thinking about their sexuality. That is when they start thinking about their sexuality. Are they straight? Are they bi? Are they both? Are they anything? Well, if they have started earlier, or even the fear of just being who they feel they are, some are even confused about their sexuality, including their gender. Because that is the time, that is the period children explore everything. Because we obviously we all were born at a point in time, we went through all these phases like those children. And we are where we are as an adult, not just because we just fly over. And even some adults they're still looking for themselves because they don't know themselves. So if we're exposed to therapy, the money you are going to spend on your children counseling, it shouldn't you should see it as an investment, as sending your child to school. There are low-cost counseling. I just opened one. Yes, I work in a private practice. I work with individual, I work with family, and I work person-centered with couple. Spend money on your children, because their mental health is quite as important as their physical health. And one thing I need to know, let you know, is if their mental health is not stable, it will affect their physical health as well. Because most of these physiological reaction that we're carrying is as a result of our emotional issues, emotional well-being not being catered for. If you're suffering from blood pressure, diabetics, every other, call it anything, they are somatic reaction that we got through the psychological reaction or emotional turmoil that we're going through. So it's not God's fault. It is our fault. So there's no age. Your child can start counseling as early as possible. And it doesn't mean they will remain in counseling forever. Children are the ones I love working with. Within 6 sessions, they're okay. Even maybe the 4th session, they'll be asking you about your glasses. Oh, I love that thing. They're done. So ask them what they're doing differently, so they know where mommy is this, mommy is sad. I'll give mommy their space. And it's not because mommy or daddy is upset with them.
Thank you. Thank you.
From early age.
From early age. So are you then saying that it's too late for an adult?
It's never too
an
late.
adult that realizes, and maybe is on, maybe is even on the show, or maybe at the later time of their life they realize that, you know what, I think I'm getting more understanding about the support that professionals can give me, like psychotherapies and all that. Are you saying it's too late?
No, it's not. It's just, I thought this program is concentrating on young children.
Yes, no, yes, definitely.
No, my oldest client is 78. And she's been with me for over 2 years now. So that enables her to move on, to forgive. There are people that has cost you things that you never know is still there. We can say in our mouth, I'm forgiving them. But it's there because they maybe either they've limited your life, or they are like a block to your life for not being able to achieve what you thought you will achieve. So there will be maybe loss of expectation, lack of fulfilling potential, that as a result of somebody's problem. So that's my oldest client. And my youngest client, as I said, is 6 years. And I rediscovered myself in my 40s. So there's no time. Yeah, there is no time. There is no time that you can't access counseling. And actually, I'm promoting it like never before. And that is the reason that this newly birthed Safe Haven Therapy for low-cost counseling is just approved by BACP. And that is to make sure that everybody can access counseling with little money as £30. Because what I realize is when you go into counseling, because of the financial implication, people will pull out at the time they need it the most. And that is bruising my heart. I just felt I needed to do something. And again, my book will soon be out about importance of counseling.
We're going to have all of those details, please put on the chat for people to contact. And I believe that you are not limited by distance. You can do any part of the world, the Zoom now and all of that. So you can actually carry out that anywhere, if the person is in any part of the world. Yeah. Yeah,
I work virtually. I have Singapore clients, and I have.
Wow.
So it's as far as wherever they want. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. You talked about a bit of the barriers that are there for people to seek professional help. So you talked about that is finance, is the background, the cultural background, the understanding that we have that for instance, like the African Asian community, very secretive. It's almost like, you don't let out your dirty on, you don't spread out your dirty undies, for the world to see. So that is there. What other barriers would you say that are there that hinder
Religion.
people from seeking? Okay, religion, faith.
Religion
Yes.
and faith. Yeah, our own mindset, which still stem up from the way we were raised, our mindset. So some people, even though they know, even though I did certain research sometimes ago, and I was so surprised. Even the professionals within the Black ethnic minority that I interviewed at the time doesn't know the importance of counseling. Yes, you may not connect with everyone because of the therapeutic relationship that needs to be built, which is what I guess Ebony experienced the first time she went into therapy. But you have to keep searching until you find someone that you can be connected with. And why, again, did you not connect with your therapist? It could be there's still something, because there's something in us that we need to feed, that person too couldn't provide, because she's an individual entity that carries her own material. So it's not so much about the therapist, it could be the client, until you give each other a bit of space, a chance, and before you know it, you will be able to form and be able to connect and have therapeutic relationship and have productive relationship. So faith, culture, and our own mindset and finances could limit us from accessing counseling. And again, not even knowing where to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a seminar where people were saying, okay, who are even this counselor? Where do we go to? Because what their pastors is feeding them is what the pastor thought is the best. But again, that doesn't address the childhood problem that person is saying. It doesn't address my mom that I lost when I was 20. It doesn't address the pain. They're telling you just move on, but part of my heart is gone. How do I get that back? So instead, and again, it's not their fault. They're not professionally trained. Some are beginning to train themselves now, go for training, which is glory be to God. So as people give what they know, they present you with what they have, and it may not be fulfilling. So our mindset and our willingness for change.
Thank you. Ebony, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just in complete agreement. Yeah, I think culture, stigma, all of that, religion, faith, it can be a huge stumbling block. And I think it's something that we're becoming more mindful of now. And we're more aware that, like, your pastor isn't your therapist. Your pastor has his place, a counselor has their place, just like your school teacher has their place. An educator has their place in your life, the doctor has a place, and I think we're becoming more aware now, whereas I think, even when I was growing up, it was just like what the pastor says is final, that's it, my friend, I was talking to my friend yesterday, we were talking about mental health, and she said, sometimes, in church, they just tell you to praise dance your way through this. And it's good, you praise your way through it. But she said that, if you have a broken leg, you might still need to go to the doctor for a check as well. So we're not saying that God is not powerful, but we need to understand that there needs to be a kind of partnership between faith and mental health, which is good. And I'm seeing it now because, I think as well, sometimes people are fearful that, I think I've experienced it as well, where like the person might not even understand your faith, the counselor. So then there's a block there already. But, there are Christian counselors, and I think the more aware we are, the better we are at getting help.
And the other thing that, Okay, go on.
No, in regards to therapists not understanding people's culture or religion, I've worked with an imam before. And I'm not a Muslim. I think the only thing I did in Quran is to search the reality and the ideology of marriage in terms of religious perspective. And that was done in my psychosocial studies post degree. So yeah, we were trained to be able to work. I have my level 7, I have my master's in counseling and psychotherapy, which is level 7. So we were trained to work with anybody, any sexuality, any religion. If your faith, I am a member of Association for Christian Counselors, but however, if you are a Buddhist, what my purpose, my aim is for you to achieve what brought you into therapy. So if some people will use their faith to condemn themselves, that is where my own research will look into their faith and see how that faith could liberate them. If you're working with somebody that is sex addict or somebody that have any form of addiction, either to drug or alcohol, and the person is saying, this is what God says, this is what Bible says, this is what Bible says. But I know that is the person's mindset. You know, we can read the same Bible, the same verse, and we get different meaning from it. So it's the same Bible that you believe in that will now go inside and preach something that will liberate you. So if you find a therapist that couldn't work with you in terms of your faith, then check the person's background, the orientation, the modality. So it's part of the trainings that we had when we were trained. So I worked with Imam. Imam knew that, well, perhaps on my name somewhere there is ACC there. But Imam wanted somebody that would not judge him because of his presenting issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I also wanted to add that what I also see that can be a barrier could be fear of what to expect. There are fear of vulnerability that, is because going to a counselor, you're going to let out everything. And especially for a man or even for a woman, a grown-up woman, be like, oh, I'll be letting out everything. And also fear of confronting the past. Don't want to go, you bury it under the sand and you feel like he's there, he's gone, but he's still there. So that fear could be something. And it could also even be pride, especially coming from the Christian or religious background or Muslim, be like, the word is enough. I read my Bible, I do this, I pray, or I read my mosque, I pray, and I go to mosque. I don't need that. It could also be pride. And from what I'm hearing, Ronke and even Ebony saying, I believe that everybody needs therapy counseling at one stage or the other in their life, especially when you're experiencing a block and you are stuck in some aspect of your life. You can be, advancing in other areas, but there's a certain area that you are just blocked. You are just stuck, and there's this blockage. You can't move forward, and you keep on repeating this cycle of maybe what has happened in the past over and over again, and thinking, is this person, is that person? Then that's I believe it's a time to know that you need therapy, or even limiting belief. There's this limiting belief of I can't, or thinking. So, and I believe that at one stage or the other, we all experience that. So I really believe that every human being at one time or the other should experience counseling or therapy to really help us to progress. As we end this, we're going to end with a short word of prayer. I want your last words, Ebony, especially to young people, young women, young men. What are your last words of encouragement or your last thoughts?
So my last words would just be to, seek help, get therapy if you're going through anything. If you're a young person, just don't be afraid to ask for help if you need help. That's one thing I would say that has really helped me in my adulthood is getting regular counseling and having therapy. It's a safe place for me to just express myself. And that, has really helped me. And even if it's not a professional, I speak to people within my support system, and that has really helped me to regulate my mental health. So anyone that's going through anything, I'd say just always just seek help. Always speak out, ask for help if you need it.
Yes, very simple. Ask for help. Ask for help. Talk, 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 talk. Whether you are a male, you are a female, young person, adult, talk. Speak out. Ask for help. Your life is worth living. And what I always tell people, that there's nothing new under the sun. What you've gone through, millions of people have gone through it. Some have survived, some have not. And millions of people are still going through it. Some are surviving it, some are not. But it all depends on how we all handle and address it. And one of the safe way to do that, or best way, is to talk. I know that people think about who is the next best person to talk to. Who can I trust? Who can I talk to? But we've got professionals there who part of their work ethic is to keep confidentiality. So we know that they won't breach that confidentiality contract that they have with you, because it's part of their ethics as practitioners. So please talk, and help is out there. And then we have the last words from Ronke Adeyemi, please.
What I'm just gonna say is just add on to what Sister Selma said, and is about people, and there are people in the Bible that sustained mental health. An example I will give is Prophet Elijah, King David, Job, Noah, and they're all there. And the Bible even talks about counseling, and which is in Proverbs 11:14. It says, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in abundance of counselors, there is safety. And it did say something again in Romans 12:2, that do not conform to this world, but transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And it did say, listen to counsel and receive instruction. That is in Proverbs 19:2, that you may be wise in your later days. And lastly, it says, the way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to counsel. That is Proverbs 12:15. God supports counseling, and we are trained. Don't worry, your presenting issue is safe. Confidentiality is the key. You can report us, you can, so many things that you can do with us if you feel you're not safe. Counseling is a safe place to talk, to explore, not to offload too much on your friend. Please seek counseling. Thank you.
Thank you all. And that brings us to the end of today. Father, we just want to say thank you for a fantastic time that we've had, a time of knowledge, impactation, a time of wisdom. We indeed have listened, and we have grown wiser today. Help us to be able to apply all of this knowledge and to implement them even in our individual lives. We thank you for Ebony. We pray that you continue to keep her strong. I know that where there is a mess, there's a message. This is a message that you have given to your daughter, and you continue to uphold her and strengthen her to reach out to the ends of the world, to save those young women and young men on the verge of, oh God, losing their lives. We thank you that you will keep her and you will sustain her. We thank you for our sister Ronke for such huge level of expertise that she's come to share with us. We thank you for the gift to the body of Christ, the gift, oh God, even to the world that she is. Pray that, Lord, you continue even to uphold her and bless her, and let her, as she has spoken out of passion, to even be able to reach more people and help more people, even with the gift that you have blessed her with. Thank you for everyone on this platform, those that are still here, those that have gone. We pray that, Lord, we will, when we hear from each other next time, it will be that, oh God, we have taken necessary steps even in our lives to be better people and to be able to achieve and pursue all that you have planned and proposed for us. No more limitation, because the help is out there. Help us to do the needful. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you all. And it's been wonderful. And that has come, we've come to the end of the Women's Mind today. Until we see you again next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.